Mr. Comedy himself, Sammy Seagull.
Thank you so much, Mom. You know, my girlfriend told me she wanted me to kiss her where it stinks, so I took her to Signal Hill. You know, it's great. You know, this gal, she comes, she wants to buy her sister a present for her sister's birthday. And she goes to a pet shop because her sister wanted a parrot or a cat or something. So she's walking in through the, into the pet store, and she's looking at all the pets, and there's all these different pets, and she sees cats and birds and frogs. And then there's this tank, this cage, a glass cage. What is that? An aquarium, and it's full of frogs. And she's looking, and then next to it is another one of those things with a frog, and it says that the frog is $500. And she's looking at that frog, and she goes and asks the guy the worst. She says, "What is that $500 frog? What is that?" And the guy says, "Well, now this frog, this is a very special frog over here. This frog is trained in the art of cunnilingus." And she's thinking there, you know what that is. And so she's thinking about that, and she's saying, well, that's ridiculous. That's no frog could do that. So she's looking around, and then she comes back and looks at the frog again and says, my sister, she's single. She'd probably love a frog like that. So it's very special. So she says, so she goes up and she buys the frog, and she says she takes it home, and she's got the frog at home, and she's sitting there, and she's kind of thinking to herself, I wonder if I should just check this to make sure this frog works, because who knows? I spent so much money on it. So she goes and she sits down on the bed with the frog, and she puts the frog next to her and sits there, and the frog's just sitting there, and it doesn't do anything. So then she kind of says, all right, well, she pulls her little dress up a little bit, just a little bit, and the frog just sits there. So then she takes the frog and she sort of puts it, could you shut the fuck up? So she takes the frog and she puts it like right kind of in between her legs. And the frog just sits there and it goes, boy. It doesn't do anything. So then she's getting a little frustrated with the frog. So then she takes the frog and she shoves the fucking frog right up in there, and the frog goes, blah. It doesn't do that. It goes, blah. So she's all pissed off. The frog doesn't do anything. It doesn't work. So she takes it back to the store. She brings it back to the guy. She shows it to him. She says, this frog doesn't do anything. I put it in a bed. I sat there with it. It didn't do nothing. So the guy looks at the frog and he goes, oh, okay. I think I understand what the problem is. He said, you put the frog on the bed and you kind of laid there with it, yes? And she said, yes. So he said, okay, get up on the counter. So she gets her ass up on the counter. He said, now I want you to spread your legs. So she spreads her legs. He takes the frog and he puts the frog next to her, and he spreads her legs and he looks at the frog and he says, now I'm only going to show you this one more time. Woo, thank you very much. You know, there's this guy's walking around and he's flashing in the park, and he walks up and there are these little ladies sitting. These little ladies are sitting at the bench. And he comes up to the first one and he flashes her, and she looks and has a stroke. And then he jumps in front of the next one and flashes her, and she looks and has a stroke. And then he jumps in front of the last one and flashes her, and she looks, but she can't reach. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. You know, I was walking down the street, and I see this guy walking with his kid, and there are these two dogs in the alley there, and they're humping. And the little kid, I heard the little kid say to his dad, he said, Dad, what are those two dogs doing? He said, well, son, you see, the dog in front is helping the other dog. The dog in the back hurt its paws. And the dog in front is helping the other dog get home. And the little kid looks at his dad and goes, isn't that just like anything? You know, it's just like life. You try to help somebody get fucked in the ass. That's the way it is. And then, same later, the kid, he comes back, and they see the same dogs. They see the same dogs. They see these dogs, and they're still humping. And the kid says to his dad, Dad, what are those dogs doing? And the dad says, okay, that's the way they make a puppy. That's what happens. You do that, you get a puppy. So that night, the kid wakes up, goes into his parents' room, and he catches his parents making love. And he says, Dad, what are you doing? And the dad says, son, we're making you a little brother or sister. He says, flip her over, I want a puppy. How about that old folks, you know that geriatric casino? You know the geriatric casino? You get 3 prunes and you go to the crap table? Yeah. And they have a chapel there, but there's no wedding shower. You get a sponge bath. So little Johnny goes to school, and little Johnny, he's sitting in class, dirty little Johnny. And the teacher's doing the alphabet, and she's got the kids, everybody, this is kindergarten, so they're learning the alphabet, so A, B, C, D. Jesus, what the fuck? Why don't you just shut the fuck up? So, she's what were we doing? Okay, so it's the alphabet. So they were doing the alphabet. And so he's calling on kids, so the teacher says A. Who knows A? And so one little kid raises his hand and says apple. So to B. Who knows B? And little Johnny's there. So, oh, little Johnny, what's B? He says bitch. Oh, little Johnny. That's no good. So the teacher skips him a couple of times. C, D, E, F. She's not going to give him. So G. So, okay, little Johnny wants G. He's raising his hand. Me, pick me. She says, okay, G. And he says, God damn it. So then she's done. Okay, fine. No more for little Johnny. So she's going through the rest of the alphabet. Poor little Johnny's in the corner. He's raising his hand. He just wants, please pick me. And so finally the teacher, she's, okay, fine. R. What kitty R? There's no, there's no cuss word. She can't get it R. So she's, okay, little Johnny R. So little Johnny says, a rat, a big fucking rat with a cock like that. Look at it. Oh, come on, give me that. Hey, how about the guy who's at he goes to his girlfriend's house. Almost done. Goes to his girlfriend's house. He goes to his girlfriend's house for dinner. And it's a very, very nice dinner. The whole family's there. It's Thanksgiving or Passover or something. And they're all sitting there, they're having a good time. And they're sitting there and having dinner. And this is the first time he's met all of his in-laws and all the whatever, in-laws, girlfriend's parents, whatever the fuck they are. And they're all sitting there, and he's sitting next to the grandma, the matron of the family. She looks like one of those, you remember those dolls with the shriveled apple face? That's what she looks like, and the eyes and all that. So that's what she looks, just like one of those. So she's sitting there next to him, and she's giving him this shit look, and he's got to pass gas. He's really got gas, really bad, and he doesn't want to get up and go into the bathroom because everybody will hear him in the bathroom. They'll know what he did in there. So he's sitting there, and he's sweating, and he doesn't know what to do, and the food, and the rolls, and they're passing, and who comes over and sits next to him but old Ginger, the dog. Old dog, smelly old dog sitting next to him. And he's sitting there looking at that dog, and the dog's looking at him, and all of a sudden he lets it out. Everybody's quiet. The whole place is quiet. Nobody's saying anything. And all of a sudden, Grandma looks down at the dog and says, Ginger. So the guy's thinking, oh, thank God. She thinks she's senile. She thinks the dog did it. So a couple minutes later, he does it again. There's Grandma. She looks at the dog. Ginger? So, of course, this guy just lets it go. Finally, Grandma looks over at the dog and says, Ginger, get away from that kid before he shits on you. Thank you so much. Oh, that's a good one. That's an oldie but a goodie. Hey, how about you go to the donut place? You ever go to the donut place? You get there at 3 in the morning, and you look in the back, and there's a guy. The guy in the back with the donuts, he's got his thing out, and he's sticking the dough on there, and he's putting it. I asked the guy behind the counter, is that how he makes the holes? He said, you wait, you'll see him make the glaze. Yes, yes, yes. Well, let's see. Oh, okay, that's it. Almost. This will be the last one. This guy's the same guy that was farting at the table now. Now he's out driving with his girlfriend. They're going out for a drive in the country on a Sunday, and they're going to get married. They're going to get married in 2 weeks. So they're driving down the street. Not the street. They're in the country, for God's sake. They're driving down the road in the country, and they're going along. And he's looking at his girlfriend, and he looks at his girlfriend. They're going to get married. And God, you fuck. Why'd you do that? What the fuck? Why don't you come up here and go over there and sit next to him? So they're driving down the street, or the road, or wherever the hell they are. And he looks over at his girlfriend, and he looks at her, and he says, honey? And she says, yes, dear? And he says, let me see it. And she looks at him, she says, what? He says, let me see it. And she says, what do you mean let you see it? We're going to be married in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, you can see it all you want. 24/7, you can see it. So he's driving a little bit more, and the birds are out, and it's a beautiful day, and he's sitting there thinking, and he says, sweetheart? And she says, yes, dear? Let me see it. Please, let me see it. Please, please, please. I've never seen it. Let me see it. Went out for a year. We've been engaged for 8 months. Please let me see it. So she says, all right. So she has that little sundress, you know, those little cotton sundresses. So she pulls that up a little bit, and she has those little panties, those little like kind of lacy panties. And so she pulls those down, and he sees it. He almost runs off the road, but he sees it. So we're driving a little bit more, kind of driving along, going a little more. About an hour later, he says, honey? She says, yes. He says, let me touch it. She says, what? Touch it? He says, please let me touch it. She says, no, we're going to be married in 2 weeks. You can touch it all you want. I let you see it. You can touch it in 2 weeks. He says, please, 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 please let me touch it. She says, no, you can't touch it. I said, no, 2 weeks. You can touch it in 2 weeks. What's the 2 weeks? So he's driving along a little bit more, and the sun is out, and the birds are chirping. There's little squirrels. Hey, it's worth it. So finally she says, okay, you can touch it. So he touches it. And then they drive a little bit more, and he's thinking about it more. And he says, honey? She says, yes, dear. Let me smell it. And she says, what? And she says, what? You smell it? I let you look at it. I let you touch it. We're going to get married in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that's all you got to wait. He says, please let me smell it. Oh, I've never smelled it. I've seen it. I've touched it. I've never smelled it. So driving along, he's begging her and begging her. So finally she says, all right, fine, you can smell it. So he pulls the car over and he smells it. And he says, honey, that's not going to wait for 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Here we go.
Sammy Seagull, everybody. Thank you very much.